Hello, I'm in Rome ahead of the crucial general election on March 4th. Of course, jobs and the economy were high on the agenda during the campaign, but the one issue that inspired the most heated debate was migration. Due to its proximity to the coast of North Africa, Italy takes in the highest number of migrants in the whole of Europe. And this humanitarian crisis was used by some parties, especially on the right, to blame on the migrants the lingering economic crisis or the alleged increase in the crime rate. So let me take you to a journey across Italy where I will gauge the voters' impressions and also see how the country reacted to this influx of migrants for the better and the worse. It's close to midnight in Rome, and these activists are putting up electoral posters. But these are not the familiar faces of politicians running for parliament. They are portraits of migrants who live and work in Italy, with their stories and a pledge: vote for me.
There is a widespread feeling of uncertainty and danger, and many blame migrants for it. They are the weakest link of society, so it's easy to blame them for our fears. And during an electoral campaign, playing on fears of migrants is the easiest way to win votes.
Molte promesse non vengono mai mantenute dai partiti, ma in campagna elettorale giocare sui migranti è la cosa più semplice che ci sia.
I like Cagliari. I think of it as my city. The journey was very risky. I survived. I am here.
This provocation was started by a group of guerrilla artists in Sardinia. They wanted Italians to see the other face of migration, a key issue in the electoral campaign.
The journey was very risky. You can die anytime. I survived. I'm here.
Illegal fly posting in Italy is punishable by a fee of hundreds of euros, but clearly these activists believe that it is important to highlight the plight of the migrants, and it is worth the risk. The initiative quickly spread across Italy, including Rome. A water refill from a Roman fountain, some glue powder, and the posters went back up next to those of Brothers of Italy, a far-right party with a tough stance against migration and a good chance to become part of the next government. At a recent Brothers of Italy rally in central Rome, supporters screamed out for the party's leader. She did not disappoint them.
In the last year, 100,000 Italians left Italy, mostly young graduates. During the same year, 180,000 illegal immigrants arrived in Italy. Mainly uneducated Africans. Immigrants account for 8.3% of the population, but are responsible for 50% of crimes and theft, 40% of robberies, 37% of sexual violence, 25% of murders, and 50% of other crimes like prostitution and paedophilia. Is there a link between illegal immigration and the rise in crime?
Brothers of Italy is part of a right-wing coalition that currently tops the polls and could well win the next election. In their manifesto, they call for a stop to the search and rescue operations of migrants in the Mediterranean, an end to the protection program offered to asylum seekers, and the repatriation of irregular migrants. The party's voters agree.
We need to do a census. Those who are not legal should be sent back to their country. If they are here illegally, obviously they can't find a way to earn a living, and they end up doing something unlawful.
There are 600,000 of them here. We need to see who can stay and who can't. If of those 600,000, nobody has the right to stay. They all need to be repatriated. Otherwise, we need to go to Brussels and tell them, gentlemen, you don't want to send them back to their countries. Then we need to share them.
This is what they are voting against. These families from Africa and the Middle East have camped out for 8 months under the colonnades of the Basilica of the 12 Apostles in the center of Rome. Their living conditions, extremely poor. Their chance to find a place to live in, slim.
There are many vacant houses. Nobody lives there. Nobody uses them. If they opened those houses, they could help us. It would be useful. In life, the first thing you should offer someone is a place to shower, a place to sleep, because when somebody's tired, they need to go back to a place where they can sleep. A warm meal, especially now that it's so cold, there's no place for us to stay. Vacant houses open them up.
This is only one of many similar informal migrant camps in Rome. But if migration in the capital represents a crisis, in the rest of Italy, it needs to be dealt with as an emergency. There are an estimated 500,000 irregular migrants across Italy, 10,000 of them live in makeshift camps with little or no access to shelter, food, and clean water. Many more are forced to live in deplorable conditions. I'm heading south to Castelvolturno, a town near Caserta in the Naples area. There today, half of the population is made of immigrants, mainly from Africa, a coexistence with local Italians that led to some rampant racism, but it also inspired some acts of solidarity.
C'è Martino da Caserta e lo ringraziamo anche perché lì da un po'. Martino, buongiorno, può dire quello che vuole, guardi, non la interrompiamo, dica quello che vuole.
Lei probabilmente non sa che dove accedono tutti questi immigrati, là ci si diventa un campo di immondizia, dappertutto, e l'Europa ha fatto dell'Italia un campo rom. Quindi, siccome io sono italiano, vorrei che lo Stato italiano prediligesse prima i confini dell'Italia, perché se lei si ricorda bene, i motopescherecci che vanno a pescare in Libia a 40 miglia dalla costa li arrestano o gli sparano sulle motovedette libiche, o gli sparano sui pescherecci oppure li arrestano. Noi andiamo a prendere questi zozzi per il bene di qualcuno e per il ladrocinio che c'è intorno a queste cose e li portiamo in Italia per farci diventare zozzi.
In Castelvolturno, we meet with a special guide. Sergio Serraino is the coordinator of the local outpost of emergency, an NGO that provides free healthcare to those in need. And here, those in need are immigrants. He tells us it is safer to drive around in his car.
We estimate that there are 10 to 15,000 foreigners living here.
Half of the local population.
Yes, almost half of the population. Since 2013, we've seen more than 8,000 people in need of medical care. The majority are foreigners from Ghana and Nigeria, the two biggest communities here. Our female patients usually are very young victims of sex trafficking. If you drive around Castelvolturno, you will soon realize the kind of derelict houses foreigners live in. They pay rent for a bed, but the houses are decrepit. Often there are no windows, no water. They need serious plumbing. And there's humidity.
In theory, those houses shouldn't be rented.
No, they're unlivable, those houses. They're not fit to live in, at least on the standards we're used to, at least according to our standards in Italy.
This is a town of two halves, where Italians and immigrants rarely meet.
It's as if Italians and foreigners are separated by a transparent plastic wall. They see each other, but don't touch each other. One can live in Castelvolturno without having contact with Italians, apart from what's strictly necessary. There are the churches. Castelvolturno is full of Pentecostal African churches.
There are many more African Pentecostal ministries than Catholic churches in Castelvolturno. One of very few places where immigrants feel at home and can pray for a better life.
The difficulties or the challenges we are facing here is we don't have public amenities. For instance, amenities that transform lives. We don't have schools, maybe pay professional courses, job opportunities. We don't have. To obtain permit of stay has become a problem to foreigners over here. All the time we hear news from the newspapers, the journalists, the television. They only broadcast negative things about the foreigners in this very place, which I disagree, because we are contributing much towards this very place. We pay our rent, we pay bills, so we stay in their houses, we rent, we don't stay in free. Even in their abandoned houses, people stay there. Sometimes they pay money, and facilities in the house are not okay for human beings to stay. But because we don't have choice, they have to.
Some of the Italians who lived here all their lives are not sympathetic.
They're economic migrants, not asylum seekers. I see that from the way they act. They're looking for a better life, for a job, but there are none here.
So why do they come here?
Because somebody let them in. Here they have help from the state. There's always someone helping them. I wonder if sometimes it wouldn't be better for an Italian to leave and come back as an illegal immigrant. Maybe he will have a better life in this country.
So how could Italians and immigrants bounce back from their mutual mistrust? These second-generation immigrants may have the answer. They were all born in Italy, and yet last year they found out that most of them couldn't play in a youth basketball league because they are still officially foreigners. The law says they need to wait until they are 18 before they can apply for Italian citizenship. The news caused an outrage, and the government passed a special decree that allowed them and every other child of immigrants to have the same right as Italians, at least when it comes to sports.
My experience here in Castelvolturno with the boys of Tam Tam taught me that you can achieve incredible results from something really small. What's important is to believe, to demand our rights through sports, raise people's awareness, and change the rules of the game.
While both Italians and foreigners here in Castelvolturno, as in the rest of Italy, seem to have failed to find a way to integrate, the last hope lies on the next generation, those children of immigrants who were born and raised here in Italy and who hope that one day will simply be called Italians. Claudio Lavanga, Euronews, Castelvolturno.